Dividing fractions is very similar to multiplying fractions in that you actually turn the division problem into multiplication. But before we do that, let's just take a look at this. And just as you would have 1 divided by 1 is 1, you see over here 1/2. Division is asking how many times one number fits inside another number, and 1/2 fits inside 1/2 exactly one time. But in order to do this problem, what we do is a lot of students have heard before something called copy dot flip. And copy dot flip gets its name from copying the first fraction. The dot is meant to be that you're turning it into multiplication, and a dot is often used to indicate multiplication, and then the flip is the second fraction. So if I was to do copy the first one, turn this from division into multiplication by putting a dot there, and then flip the second fraction. And when I do that, I then have turned this division problem into a multiplication problem. And for multiplication, you just multiply straight across on the top. 1 times 2 is 2. And then on the bottom, you have 2 times 1 is 2. And 2 over 2 simplifies to just be the number 1, which makes perfect sense because 1/2 fits inside 1/2 exactly one time. Let's take a look at a couple more examples. So in this example, we're asking how many times 7/8 fits inside 2/3. Well, since 7/8 is bigger than 2/3, we would expect this to not fully fit in one time. So it's going to be less than one time. So our answer is going to be a fraction that's less than 1. So we're now going to copy the first fraction, put a dot, we're turning it into multiplication, and you're flipping the second one upside down. Now we just multiply straight across. 2 times 8 is 16. And 3 times 7 is 21. Now we look to see, can we reduce this? Well, 16 is an even number, so it's divisible by 2, but 21 is not. 16 is not divisible by 3 because when I add up 1 plus 6, I get 7, and 7 is not divisible by 3. 21 is divisible by 3. And if I'm looking at these, the factors for 21 are not the same as any of the factors for 16, so this is actually the final answer. Let's do another example. In this one, we're going to look at one where you have a simplification of the numerator and denominator. So in this example, I want to know how many times 6/9 fits inside 2/3. And if you actually look at this, you'll see that 2 times 3 is 6 and 3 times 3 is 9. So this is actually the same fraction. It reduces to this. So I'm asking how many times this reduces to 2/3. 2/3 goes into 2/3 one time. So when I do this problem, I should get 1 for an answer. So let's take a look at the copy dot flip. So I copy the first fraction, I put a dot, and on the second fraction, I'm going to flip it upside down. Now, I can reduce the 2 and we can cross simplify, and 2 goes into itself once and 2 goes into 6 3 times. And then over here, 3 goes into itself once and 3 goes into 9 3 times. So if I multiply straight across now, these are my new numbers, 1 and 3 on top and 1 and 3 on the bottom. I get 3 over 3, which simplifies to 1, and that's the final answer. Let's look at one last example. So now we have 4 over 13 divided by 12 over 26. So I'm going to copy the first fraction, put the dot to turn it into multiplication, and then I'm going to flip the second fraction upside down. And when I look at this, I've designed it so that we get some good simplification here. So I'm going to cross simplify 4 and 12. 4 goes into itself once, and 4 goes into 12 3 times. Now, this here, the 26 is actually 13 times 2. So 13 goes into itself once, and 13 goes into this 26 2 times. And when I multiply straight across, I get 2 on top, because I'm multiplying 1 times 2. And on the bottom, I get 1 times 3, or 3. And 2/3 is the final answer, simplified. And we're done.